Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to another Dragon Ball Super discussion. Now today, me and my guest, MJ from GeeklistTV, why don't you say hello to everybody?
Hello.
Oh, you got those pipes, man. You got those pipes. Anyway, guys, we are going to be talking today about whether or not Frieza joining the Tournament of Power, the 10th member of the Universe 7, Team Universe 7, I guess, whether or not that was actually a last-minute change from Toei, from Toriyama, Toritaro, whatever, what have you. Because all the promotional material, everything kind of indicated that it was going to be Boo. And obviously a lot of people were expecting Boo. And I think MJ has probably the more realistic opinion on this. I'm not necessarily sure they drastically changed this to satisfy audiences or satisfy fans or anything like that. But I do believe, and I actually think that Frieza probably was a last-minute change, just considering the fact that one of the things I'm sure even in the Japanese community was like, well, why don't they just get Frieza? I imagine at some point there was enough fan people going, it makes no sense that they would have Roshi, Tenshinhan, and the androids fight in this thing when they literally could go get Frieza, and he was introduced just a couple arcs earlier, considering the fact that they're going to blow up all of the universes, including everyone living, dead, and even the gods of destruction and gods themselves, that they wouldn't just take the hit, use the one-day pass, and get Frieza back in action just for that amount of time, that 48 minutes, just to fight in order to save their universe. It made no sense, and I really think that there might possibly be, I guess, some indication that Toei just decided that, yeah, you're right, so they changed it. Instead of taking away Roshi or Tenshinhan or something like that, they just took away the most hacks character with Boo, and gave us the one person that everyone had been clamoring for. So I know that's really out there. I know that's probably not what happened, but I'm going to throw it over to MJ to probably tell us why he thinks this was planned from the very beginning.
Well, it's not just Frieza. It's the fact that when we found out like Roshi was going to be in it, and Shinhan, some of the weaker characters, or even Krillin before we found out Krillin had that new technique, everyone just, why not go get Pycon? Why not go get Cell? Hey, why not go get the dead fighters? You know what I mean? So it wasn't just really, Frieza. It was more so anyone that was stronger than, Roshi, Krillin, Tien. But now some of these characters have been buffed up. Like Roshi has been training in secret, supposedly. And so has Krillin, supposedly. So there you go. But yeah, I feel like it was actually planned ahead. One of the few reasons why I do believe this is because one of the recent Toyotaro interviews was he seemed pretty solid on the idea that, oh, just because you've seen, a certain few characters or a certain character in the promotional material, just think, don't keep it in your head that the team has actually been decided yet. Things might come to change or something like that. And even though he could just be talking about the fact that of a last minute change, that's fine, but I just feel like Toyotaro being Toyotaro, I feel like it was probably always in a bullet point that Frieza was going to come back. You know what I mean? I don't think Toyotaro's the type of person that makes last-minute changes like that, or at least would agree with them. So I feel like the fact that he said that kind of makes me think this may have been in the actual bullet points for this arc from Toriyama. You know what I mean? That Frieza may come back. Usually we put that together when something actually correlates with the anime, the manga and the anime, because there are a lot of key differences. People overlook this. It's not just the Future Trunks arc. There are key differences in every arc so far if you actually go back and read the manga to the anime. So the fact that Toyotaro's like, yeah, the team might change, that to me tells me that it's always kind of been a plan. Also, when you go back and look at the intro, we only see Boo 3 times, and every time we see them, it's never a close-up shot. Like, 18 gets her close-up shot, Krillin, Roshi, 17, they all get individual shots where they're, like, powering up or shooting a blast. Tien, Tenshinhan gets a close-up shot as well. Boo is always in a far-away shot, and he's only in 3 shots, so to me, it just seems like as soon as 93 is done with and Frieza's recruited, I feel like episode 94 or 95, it's going to be a new intro, and I feel like the intro is already done. Also, they were hinting at it during the outro, the recent Boogie Back outro, which was, that came out, I think, back in freaking episode 80, 81. Even back then, it was hinting at Boo being asleep. He wasn't shown in action. Again, when you think about it like this, a lot of people are assuming that the Zen exhibition match isn't going to be in the manga. We don't know for sure yet because the manga still hasn't caught up. But if we don't know if it's going to be in the manga yet, but if it isn't, again, that just backs up me kind of like with the idea that Boo was never going to be in the Tournament of Power, and that's why Toei gave us Boo versus Basil in the Zen exhibition match, because Toei was like, man, they really ducking Boo here. Let's give him let's give him a fight, let's give him something. And I think when you just kind of stack the evidence there, it tells me, at least in my opinion and the way I'm viewing it, that Boo was never going to be in the Tournament of Power, ever, in my opinion.
No, I totally see where you're coming from. It's just, to me, it's a little weird when you think about just how much promotional material was kind of put out there with Boo, and how much focus we got on Boo really recently and everything, and just how much they've shafted him this entire series. I mean, obviously, like I said, he's super hacked, so you don't necessarily know exactly how to utilize him when you have someone who can basically do anything and fight anyone and probably win every single fight that he has. I mean, at the very beginning of the series, Beerus wailed on him, and it didn't go easy. He went easy on everyone else. He just hit people. He used chopsticks in the movie. I don't think he did that in the show, but he used chopsticks in the movie. He didn't necessarily fight anyone else to any real degree, but he wailed and destroyed Boo, but Boo just kept coming back. So obviously that character in a tournament like this was never going to be, it was always going to be overly useful, which takes away some of the tension. And I understand why you would replace someone like Boo with someone like Frieza, but at the same time, it just seems kind of out of place to me. Not that we have, I'm not complaining at all, because I really think that when Frieza comes back, it's that's awesome. As I've argued before, it goes a long way at justifying the Fukatsu no F arc of Dragon Ball Super, and even the movie, where you bring him back, you give him this massive power-up, so the point where he can actually fight Goku or fight on par with Goku and Vegeta at the same level. And obviously it's going to be incredibly useful to have that power in the tournament, and not necessarily as hacks as Boo. But at the same time, I really think that there was such a huge fan outcry that either they were sitting on this twist, like you're suggesting, this entire time, going you dumbasses, you don't know what's coming, and that's why Tortaro is basically laughing about it. It's people are mad at nothing because this is how it's going to pan out. Or the fan backlash was so immediate that they were sitting there working on this concept oh crap, we actually need to figure out something, people are mad about this, we need to bring back someone, and we already brought back Frieza. He has this power boost, he would be useful, unlike Pikkon, who was never necessarily canon, or Cell, who isn't, while stronger than, or at least should be stronger than Tenshinhan, Roshi, Krillin, and the androids. He was never going to be brought back just because he doesn't have that right power.
He's not iconic, really, too. I think, I'm not too sure if someone was joking, but I was talking to a few friends on Discord the other day, and someone was saying that Frieza's just more liked in Japan than Cell. Yes, so, I didn't know that was a joke or not. I could see it being the truth, but, if it is, then okay.
It's the truth. I mean, Frieza is a very iconic, very memorable character. People love to hate Frieza. So to me, it seems like Toei, regardless of whether they actually knew that this was coming, whether they were trying to hint at it and being well, Boo's not actually going to be in here, to me it really feels like Toei's, I guess, it was more of a business decision. It seems like more of a business decision than a creative decision, in my opinion. But at the same time, like I said, it does go a long way at paying off arcs later or earlier on in Dragon Ball Super, which I think is pretty awesome. It's just, we haven't necessarily seen that, and Super's never been, I guess, it's never been at the top of its to-do list is to pay off things that happened previously or make sure that every single arc connects. So, like I said, a lot of this to me, even though it might have been the creative decision of Toriyama and Toritaro going into this arc, a lot of it to me does seem like a a business-minded decision other than a creative one.
I see your point. I'll get into that in a second. But just for the people wondering, this is I found it, the exact interview where he does answer the question about the Universe 7 team. Toyotaro's exact response, according to Govita XV, is, "Do not believe in the definitive members of the upcoming Tournament of Power, even if they've already been unveiled." And this was like before, the recent episodes where Goku recruited all 10 members. So I can just assume he was talking about the promotional material where it showed, Boo and everyone else. Now, I can see why they took out Boo, like you brought up, but there's a lot of, I think people really underestimate just how many hacks abilities Majin Buu has, and it's kind of funny because he didn't really even show off half of those abilities when he fought Basil, and when you go actually break it down, even though we did a video on my channel called "Is Universe 7 2 Hacks?", they would really be hacks if they had Boo on the team. An example is the fact that Boo can turn you into candy. He can literally turn you into any object. He can absorb you. He can then basically copy any move that he sees. Remember that he copied Vegeta's. He copied Goku's Kamehameha on the spot. Can you imagine if he saw the time skip? It's like, again, I can definitely see why they keep him out of these tournaments. You know what I mean? He has the regeneration. He just has so much stuff that it makes sense to why they keep him out of it. And like I brought up before, they showed him off in the exhibition match, and he didn't even show off half of what he could do. You know what I mean? Basil may have been physically as powerful as him, according to statements from the episode, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Boo could have defeated him within seconds, if he just used any one of his abilities.
Boo also has unbelievable stamina as opposed to everyone else. I mean, that fight really showed just how much everyone tires out, and he just keeps going. And that was also, like, when he was first introduced, that was a huge thing with Deborah and Vegeta fighting him. They got really tired, and he just kept coming. It was like it's just playing for him.
Even Super Saiyan 3 Goku, too, I believe he mentioned something about how he doesn't know for sure if he could have defeated him. I mean, and then, of course, we see it later on where the Super Saiyan 3 form just drains Goku out when he's fighting Kid Buu, and Kid Buu is just dancing, shaking his ass, on the other side of the planet. So it's like, yeah, the Buu character, the entity of Majin Buu, is very has a lot of stamina. And again, there's a lot of reasons to why I can see they haven't really showed off what he is capable of. The only person he's fought so far, I think, off the top of my head, from not like in a tournament, is Beerus, right? And it makes sense because Beerus is a god of destruction, so of course those abilities won't work on him. You know what I mean? So, but anyways, I do stand by what I said before. I do feel like this was a creative decision from Toriyama, and I feel like that's why Toyotaro's just kind of laughing at the idea, like, hey, just because you saw him in posters, don't take it seriously. It's not, it may not be the full team yet. But anyways, another discussion that may be good for the channel, comment that down below if you want me and Mark to do this on his channel, is you brought up something called the outcry of the fan base. Was the fan base really that upset, though? Because I know what you're talking about. I did see a lot of that. But I can argue that the fan base has been even more vocal due to the fact that Boo was replaced. You know what I mean? So it's like, was it really a business decision to really switch them? Because, yeah, people were pissed off that guys like Roshi, Tenshinhan, and Krillin were in it. But now you can argue that the fact that they changed from Boo to Frieza, they've probably even more pissed off, But that's, that's a whole other topic right there going into that. But
yeah, exactly. I totally understand where you're coming from. The point is it might be a creative decision. Like I said, if it is a creative decision and it was something that the main showrunner, I guess Toriyama, you could be considered a showrunner if you create just an outline, don't really do much else. I really think if that's the truth, I'm actually really excited for this, just because if it was done creatively, I would imagine that there's some really good moments to be had and a reason to bring him back other than the fact that he's just strong. And that's something I really, really appreciate. If it wasn't a creative decision and if it was done for marketing purposes and everything, then I imagine that they're not going to have a real reason to bring him back other than he's popular and we brought him back before, so he's strong enough to actually compete. And that's just my opinion. And I don't know how it's going to shake out. I don't know what my thoughts and opinions will be, especially if he comes in and what he does is disappointing on the same level that it kind of was for the Katsunoe arc. Not necessarily the movie, but if it's as disappointing as that, I'm not necessarily I don't know what to expect from it, whether or not it was a good decision or not, or creatively done, or financially, business wise done. And personally, like, interestingly enough, I feel like the same argument can be had for the Fukatsu no F movie and the arc of the show, just considering the fact that Toriyama did that movie because one of the biggest backlashes, at least for, I guess, most of the worldwide fans, and I'm not necessarily sure about Japan, but was like, there wasn't enough fighting in Battle of Gods. And then he was like, oh, you want fighting? I'll give you fighting. And he brought back Frieza, which was probably a creative decision on his part, but at the same time, Frieza was brought back because Frieza's one of the most iconic villains in anime. So
he's basically the Joker of DBZ,
yeah.
Or Dragon Ball. You say Dragon Ball, and if you say a villain, Frieza comes to mind. The same with like DC. When you talk comic books, when you talk best villain or just villain in general, Joker comes to mind. It's like.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Like I'm just gonna have to wait and see. Honestly, I'll have a better opinion on what I think about this after we see him in action and what he actually does. I'm very, very excited for it. But at the same time, I think we have to just be open to the fact that maybe this wasn't necessarily, or maybe it was conjoined like business and creative wise, and we're just going to see how it pans out. But I agree with you, and I just wanted to kind of raise the question just to get a discussion going about whether or not the fan base had any impact on the fact that Frieza is actually coming back, or whether or not this was just always planned from the very beginning. And like you said, I think you made some really good points as to they knew that this was happening and they were trying to give us hints as they went on, and not necessarily something with the like, oh crap, we're getting way more bad press than we thought about this, or something like that, which I don't think they really did. So
and
like I said,
before Toyotaro brings back Bardock in his version.
exactly. So I really think like you're right here. I want to make that clear. I think you're right. And with that being said, anybody who has any differing opinions or similar opinions or things that we didn't come up with, please make sure to go down in the comment section below and just tell us what you think about this particular topic. I don't necessarily know the answer one way or the other. I'm sure MJ doesn't. We can only just speculate. So guys, with that being said, please make sure to go check out MJ, make some really awesome content for you guys. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe on this channel. Share this video out to all your friends so they can share their opinions as well. And we're going to catch you on the next video. Bye.